Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Kat and I like to read books. Usually I like to read queer, dark, creepy, or translated books, but in the month of August I'm going to be doing Aussie August. So I moved to Australia last year and I have only read one or two Australian books, which I realized recently, and I thought that was a shame. So in August I'm really focusing my attention on Australian authors, and so I picked up 18 books. Well, I picked up like a lot of books, like 15 books, and then a few books I'm still waiting on from the library, and then one book I'm going to have to get on my Kindle because there are just way too many reserves on it. I will never ever get it. But I thought I'd make this video to bring to your attention some Australian authors and books that you may not have heard of. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the 18 Aussie August books that I am planning to read or taste or see if I like the authors for the first time, because I have not read almost any of these authors before. So yeah, we're gonna start out and we're gonna do category by category, starting with the largest one, which is fiction. So the first book I want to talk about is Wimmera by Brandi. So this is following two boys who are growing up in a small town named Wimmera in 1989, and it's kind of like, you know, the formative years where in summer they're palling around together, they're going swimming, they're playing at each other's houses, when a new man moves into the town and the boys are fascinated by him. No one knows where he came from, and the boys take to like stakeouts and watching him. And as they develop a relationship with the man and come to kind of befriend him, I think things take a very dark turn. And this is alternating, I believe, between the boys in childhood and then one of the boys when he is a man looking back on what happened. So I cannot wait to sink my teeth into this. I think it will be very dark and very dramatic. Okay, another work of fiction that is also dark is Taboo by Kim Scott. I picked this up for like almost nothing, like $2 at a local used bookstore, and I have been intrigued by it ever since I saw it. It is all over Australia right now, in every bookstore, and it is following a main character named Tilly, who goes, I believe, into the outback and researches dark ways that people have of doing death and rituals. Not witchcraft, but kind of like belief systems that are not necessarily upheld within like the cities anymore. So I think it sounds really interesting. This is fiction, it's not a memoir, I believe, so I'm really, really interested. Like, people say it's really creepy, which I mean I get from the cover, so I'm really excited about that one. Another one I got recently is Our Chemical Hearts by Krystal Sutherland. This is a straight up romance, and I picked it up thinking I would read it really quickly, and I just never got around to it yet. So we follow Henry, who's a film buff and a hopeless romantic, and he sees Grace. She is disabled, she was in an accident, and he is wanting to learn out more about her. So yeah, I am looking forward to this one. I'm not sure if you've read this and you have any thoughts on it, let me know down below. When I told my husband about it, he said it sounds like it's gonna be bad. But yeah, that's just his uninformed opinion. Next I have The Dry by Jane Harper. I don't know if Jane Harper needs to be explained. I've heard her compared to the Gillian Flynn. So in this one we're following a dry spell. So after 2 years we're in a small town named Kiowara, and there has been a murder of a family that's taken place, but when investigators show up, because it's a small town, no one is really talking, and there's a lot of secrets that people are holding on to. So I'm really excited to read this. I am not usually a huge crime thriller fan, but I recently read Dark Places by Gillian Flynn and was like hooked. So I'm excited to get to this one. Then up, another fiction is The Choke by Sofie Laguna. And this is following a young girl named Justine who has been abandoned by her parents, and she spends most of her time with her pop, who I believe is her grandfather, and swimming in the Choke, which is the local creek, I think. And this says it is a brilliant, haunting novel about a child navigating the dark and uncaring world of male power and violence. So again, very dark, family drama, set in Australia. I'm very excited about it. And the last fiction that I have is a massive chunkster of a book, and it is Barracuda by Christos Tsiolkas? Sorry. In this one, we are following Danny Kelly, who is a swimmer, and his whole life is about swimming. So he trains in Melbourne swimming pools all of the time, and he is one of like the best swimmers around, and he's winning all the competitions. He wants to be in the Olympics, but he's also struggling, I believe, with his sexuality. And this is a book that is kind of another one that's everywhere in Australia. It's on all of the bookshelves, and there's a million copies at the library, so I'm really keen to get to this. I hope I do. It is just so huge though, so I'm kind of intimidated. If you've read this or this author, let me know what you thought. So another work of fiction that came into the library recently after I requested it, but I haven't had a chance to pick it up yet, is My Sister Rosa. Now, I have been wanting to read this for a long time. This came up on my radar when people compared it to We Need to Talk About Kevin and also Baby Teeth, which are both a kind of, not evil child, but kind of like there's something a little bit strange, maybe evil about the child. So we follow the perspective of a brother who loves his 10-year-old sister, but he believes that she is a killer and a psychopath. So it's like, how far would you go to protect someone that you know is bad, even if that person is your 10-year-old sister? So I think it sounds dark and creepy, and I can't wait to pick it up from the library when I head there today or tomorrow. And another one that I'm really keen to get to is Boy Swallows Universe by Trent Dalton. I requested this to the library, but I'm number 73, so this book is never gonna come to me until probably 3 years from now. So I'm gonna just have to get it on Kindle, and that will be that. Also, the cover is gorgeous. I'm just gonna read you the blurb because it's pretty intense. So it says, Brisbane, 1983. A lost father, a mute brother, a mum in jail, a heroin dealer for a stepfather, and a notorious crim for a babysitter. It's not as if Eli's life isn't complicated enough already. He's just trying to follow his heart, learning what it takes to be a good man. But life just keeps throwing obstacles in his way, not the least of which is Titus Braz, legendary Brisbane drug dealer. But if Eli's life is about to get a whole lot more serious, he's about to fall in love. And oh yeah, he has to break into Boggo Road jail on Christmas Day to save his mother. So I just think this sounds amazing. It came out of June last year, and it's still so hyped, and people are just raving about it. So I really want to get to it. It sounds awesome. Okay, let's transition into some sci-fi dystopia. So I have a few sci-fi dystopias that I want to talk about. The first one is pretty classic, I believe. It is On the Beach by Nevile Shute. So this one I actually picked up, ironically, when I was in America, and then I shipped it back to Australia. So this is a dystopian where it is post-apocalyptic, and we are following some people who are on the beach when the nuclear bombs are dropped, and it's kind of about how they're living, I believe, their final days, I think. I don't really know. There's not really that much of a blurb, and this book is really old. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. We also have The Natural Way of Things by Charlotte Wood, which is a dystopian Australia where a woman has been kidnapped, had her head shaved, and she's kind of chained in this dystopian society or this dystopian setting in the outback. And she is with other women until they realize that their captors are not coming back, and the women have to escape and survive on their own. And I think it sounds really dark, really awesome. This has been on my radar for a while, I just have not picked it up yet. So I am intrigued and I am excited. Another one is The Swan book by Alexis Wright. This follows a future where Aboriginals are still under rule from, are still living under the intervention of the North, and the environment has been changed by climate change. So it is a very dark and very dismal look at Australia in the future if things in the past hadn't happened and climate change was accelerated. So I've heard mixed reviews about this. This was one of the books that the book club of my local library read, but when I looked it up on Goodreads, I see that it has kind of mixed reviews, so we shall see about this one. And the last dystopian I want to talk about is Terra Nullius by Claire G. Coleman. This is another one I've requested from the library, hasn't come in yet. This is in Australia, which is split day and night, where I think the working class works during the night or lives above ground, and the elite class is in the day and lives above ground. It also has ties to the Time Machine, the Eloi, and the Morlocks. I'm not exactly sure. I'm very intrigued. This is another one that is kind of everywhere, and my husband has also been wanting to read it for a long time, so we'll definitely be getting to this one sometime in August. Okay, so that wraps up the dystopian sci-fi. So now let's get into the fantasy, of which there is one. So this is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. I don't think it really needs an introduction. So Mia Corvair is only 10 years old when she's given her first lesson in death. 6 years later, she takes steps toward the promise she made when she lost everything. I believe this is like a training school. Many people know about this book. I don't think I need to tell you about it. The only thing shocking about this is that I have not read it for so long. So yeah, J. Kristoff is Australian, and I can't wait to check it out. Okay, so next I want to talk about illustrated novels, of which I want to talk about two. One is The Arrival by Shaun Tan. So Shaun Tan is probably the premier illustrator in Australia. I've read 3 of his other novels, and this one I have not yet read. So this is talking about a person who is immigrating with their family to Australia, and it's talking about the immigrant experience. I have not yet read it. I'm going to read it as part of Aussie August and also my Newts, which is the Harry Potter readathon in August. So if you're wondering what his illustration style looks like, it kind of looks like this. So not much color, very kind of photorealistic, I guess. And the other one is The Rabbits, which is written by John Marsden and illustrated by Shaun Tan. So using rabbits, it is exploring the colonization of Australia and the destruction of the environment by Europeans. So this is kind of like a steampunky, surreal rabbit colonization story. It just looks really cool and very angular, which is intriguing to me, and I really want to read it. I have again requested this from the library, and I'm expecting it any day. Okay, great. So we have 3 left, and they are all nonfiction or memoirs. So the first one I want to talk about is The Erratics by Vicki Laveau-Harvie, and this has won a bunch of awards. It follows Laveau-Harvie as she goes to care for her mother and her father after her mother is hospitalized, and she's reliving many of like the ways that the relationship was very toxic and the dynamics of the family environment. And she's looking at it from a point of view of having lived there in childhood and then coming back once after you're an adult. And I think it is going to be very dark. And I also love the cover so much. Another one is a nonfiction called The Arsonist by Chloe Hooper. This was brought to my attention by Simon at Savage Reads. So this is a account of a man who set the fires that became known as Black Saturday in 2009, and it swept across Latrobe Valley in Australia, taking a lot of houses with it. And this inferno was brought to the attention of many people, but this book explores the mental state of the arsonist himself. And Simon says like it really causes you to question accountability and whose fault it is that this kind of thing had happened. So very intrigued about this one. And the last one is Eggshell Skull, a memoir by Bree Lee. Now this one follows her as she goes to law school. Her father is a policeman, and when she becomes a judge's associate, she sees the way that the legal system works. And when she experiences assault and she finds herself in her own legal case, she decides that she's going to use all of the knowledge that she has learned to her advantage and to work through the case. I've heard amazing things about this. This is like one of the top sellers in like every bookstore. Like you can't walk into a bookstore and not see this book. So I'm really excited to get to it. So these are 18 books that I'm going to try to read for Aussie August slash the Newts readathon throughout the whole month, minus 1 week when I'm going to be reading female fantasy, not strictly Australian, for Femme Fan Tale Readathon hosted by Jean at Jean Bookish Thoughts. I was planning to try and fit it in, but actually I just really couldn't find that much female fantasy that is strictly in Australia. So for that 1 week, I'm going to be reading just like based on the female fantasy genre. Yeah, but if you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up or hit the subscribe button. That would be awesome. If you've found new books, let me know which ones. And also, if you have any Australian books to recommend to me, that would be awesome as well. I can't wait to try and, you know, read more Australian lit and see and find new authors that are local so I can support them. Yeah, I hope that you are having an amazing day and I will chat to you later. Bye!